Member for Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the spirit of never letting a crisis go by without taking advantage of it, the Premier did just that. How did he do it? He doubled his budget. He doubled his budget. So what does that mean? That means double the spin doctors, means double the comms officers, means double everything in the Premier's office. How did he do it? He did it at the expense of his own ministers. So reducing the budgets in the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Environment, and by the way, if you go to page 22 in the book, you clearly see a reduction of $4 million in the Ministry of Environment's operating budget. That's right there in the book if the minister finds the time to look through it. So with that, how does this Premier justify those cuts at the expense of bloating his own personal office?
Minister of Finance. Member. Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. As the member opposite knows, we have put in a hiring freeze, and the way that it works is we make exemptions. We make exemptions. Mr. Speaker, we make exemptions for filling vacancies that are either core services or deeply required for that work to move forward. There are some vacancies that we are not filling, and there's some vacancies that we are.
Members.
The
Member
truth
for
of the
Abbotsford South. Please continue. Minister will continue.
The truth of the matter is, leading up to the election, there were a number of people in GCPE who stepped back from that work. We knew that that shop was not going to be as busy. This is actually good news because it saves us money, Honourable Speaker. But those roles have to be filled. It's important work, Honourable Speaker. In regards to the Premier's office, since the election, we've had a number of staff changes. Some people have left, and others have moved into positions to support government priorities. Mr. Speaker, you will see in this budget that the public service line, the FTE increase is going to be zero. It's going to be zero, Honourable Speaker.
Member for White Rock supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this question period, we are giving a new definition to NDP math. I can, for the life of me, not understand how the Minister of Finance and the Premier can say that they're not increasing. The Premier has doubled his own budget at the expense of his various ministers, right? And we talk about people in the Premier's office. The first thing this Premier did after the election is give a $300,000 severance package to his top advisor. That's the priority. So again, the Minister of Finance stands in this House and says no cuts. If she checks her own budget on page 22, you see a $4 million cut, again, page 22, to the Ministry of Environment. Again, we have seen the Premier's office double. How does the Premier justify these cuts and the expansion of his own personal office?
Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, it is not true that there is a cut to the Ministry of Environment. There are
Members.
There have been changes made to that ministry in dividing it. I'm happy to meet with the member opposite and walk them through those changes. There is no cut to the Ministry of Environment, Honourable Speaker, but I do have to point out how unbelievably rich this line of questioning is, coming from a team of people who are double-dipping people sitting on this team, getting paid twice by taxpayers, twice, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Kamloops Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister just said that there will be no new hires in this year's budget. Can the minister confirm then that the budget book that says they're going from 520,000 public service compensated members to 593,000 public service compensated members in this year's budget is on hold and those 73,000 hires are no longer happening?
Minister.
Honourable Speaker, the FTE growth over this fiscal plan will be zero. There will be people who come and people who go, but this FTE growth over the fiscal plan in our public service will be zero.
Member supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, let's be clear. This government said they were only going to hire 500 people last year. Then they hired 2,000 and said, oh, now we're going to freeze it. And now they're telling us they're going to freeze that. That's one component. And directly below that in the budget, it says public service compensated employees are going from 520,000 to 593,000 in this year. Those are still paid for by taxpayers as well. I don't think the average person would consider that to be a hiring freeze. I don't know. That's just me, perhaps. But, Mr. Speaker, let's look at some other reviews of this budget. The BC Chamber says it doesn't deliver. BC, missed opportunity. BCTF says, well, it's met contractual obligations. The Pemba Institute, missed opportunity. AME does not provide additional resourcing to support permitting or consultation with First Nations. And Kofi, who's been under attack for softwood for 8 years with no action from this government, says it's disappointed about lack of forestry support. Now, the minister goes on about support for DigiBC, which is wonderful. They've been lobbying this government since 2018. They've never actually got that in. They've never been able to get to that 25% tax credit. Since 2018, this government has refused to do that. You know what has changed? The person lobbying for DigiBC in 2018 is the now Minister of Finance. So could the Minister of Finance tell us, why the only people out there that seem to get preference for tax relief in this budget, not the forest sector, not mining, certainly not small business, is the agency she used to lobby for, yet was rejected by this government until she became the finance minister.
Members, come to order. Members, that's enough. Come to order. Member, Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today, our Finance Minister has been answering questions on a budget that's designed to get us through the tariffs, the most grave threat, the most grave threat that this province faces. The Premier gave a statement on the importance of our province being ready and prepared. The Leader of the Opposition got up and said some words about standing up for Canada. Well, it's important that we all stand up for Canada. And I'm a firm believer, Honourable Speaker, that when you wear the hat, you support the team. And so when we hear from a Leader of the Opposition, when we hear...
Members.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. So I won't address all the issues I have with the opposition when it comes to those on his side who want to wear a MAGA hat. But I do have a question for the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Speaker. Does he think it's appropriate, Honourable Speaker? Does he think it's appropriate that a member of his caucus stands up in this House today and introduces someone known as Mr. Sunshine Baby, seated in the gallery? And I'll tell you what it has to do, Honourable Speaker, because yesterday the person that introduced by this caucus, Honourable Speaker, posted a video that said, "The fat pig Doug Ford in Ontario is ready to cut off the power and Liberals are cheering him on." This is quite literally, by definition, an act of war. Honourable Speaker, does the Leader of the Opposition think it's appropriate for a member of his caucus to introduce somebody like that when tariffs are the greatest